I thought I would take a slightly different angle, so I'm going to talk about 4 words. I'm going to talk about direct action, leadership, sponsorship, and legacy, in that order. The context of progress, because I always think it's worth just thinking back. You know, the fact is, there's great progress. You know, we have the vote, etc. You know, we no longer have MPs that are saying that we're all Harroden witches, all sorts of things. We no longer have, you know, presidential candidates going, it's a very bad day if women start running the country. And that was, frankly, only 20 years ago. So we have great progress. If you look at the statistics for the Davis Review and all the amazing work that's going on in that sphere now, we've made great progress. However, it has stalled. So the momentum needs to be kept up. And it is about always thinking about this issue and keeping on it. It's like keeping fit. You can't let go for a moment. And I think there's an awful lot of amazing work coming out now in terms of pipeline and the plans for that, because the fact is the journey to the boardroom does begin in the schoolroom, and there's no question of it. I think the Women's Business Council report next week, that's going to be quite seminal and incredibly good. The work of the 30% Club, the Headhunters, the Inspire, Aspire networks, the 2% Club, all the various had a chance to be doing his AS in history last week, and one of his essays happened to be around the suffragettes, which I was quite impressed at because he got really into it. And I wondered to myself what Emmeline Pankhurst might say if she was sitting here, and I don't want to go down the quotas route, so this is not why I'm mentioning her. But I'm wondering, she'd probably be amazed and thrilled at how far we've come, and that would be great. But I wonder if she'd be a little disappointed at whether we are being active enough. So that leads me into my first thought, which is direct action. So there's an awful lot of work gone in the field of, well, I'm going to talk about leadership momentarily, but, you know, around the surround sound of what we need to do, of what men need to do, and all of that. But are there things that we could more actively be doing? So as an employee, are people actively asking the leadership of their companies and holding them to account for the nature of their executive committees, or indeed the constituency of their board? As a shareholder, it only takes everyone to buy 1 share to be allowed at an AGM to be able to ask of the board at the AGM in front of the press, the rest of the board, and importantly the chairman, those questions. And are we doing that enough? As a school parent, are we asking our schools what is their curricula for solving this? As a daughter or a niece or a sister, again, are we having those conversations, or are we walking past them? And as a consumer, someone who's new to the board of Royal Mail, I don't know if anybody knows her, a brilliant, wonderful lady called Jan Babiak, fantastic. She has a personal code which she will not buy from a company if she can avoid it that doesn't have women on their boards. So she makes an active consumer choice not to support those companies. And it's a simple thing, but actually I wonder collectively if we brought that direct collective action, actually it would begin to again give it all a bit of a kickstart. So I just wondered about that, and I think that's the very least we should do, given the frankly the shoulders upon some great giants upon which we stand. So that was a thought. In the leadership, I've had 2 experiences which are quite profound to me, which absolutely demonstrate the point. So 5 years ago, I joined the Aviva executive. I was the first woman in 300 years. For 3 years, I was the only woman. I'm now one of 4. And we had a new chairman 18 months ago, and he has made that difference. And what he's not done is gone, I'm going to choose women because I want women on my team. He's gone, I want the very best people, and he's made a point of recognising that, and it doesn't matter what packaging that comes in. And that's what he's done. I've watched it again on Mothercare. We were, I'm afraid, the poster child for not having a woman on the board. There was an interregnum before I joined. 2 years on, new chairman. There's 3 of us now. I was the only one for 2 years. There's 3 of us now. But that is a chairman making a decision to solve this problem and recognise talent, full stop. So it can happen, it has happened, and I've watched it. And, you know, this isn't about me. I'd like to think I didn't destroy it for womankind, fortunately, which is why I'm there. But, you know, it truly is about getting to those chairmen. And those chairmen, by the way, they're fathers, they're sons. Again, so it links back to the first piece about the direct action. Third thought, sponsorship. I am more and more convinced how important this is relative to mentoring. I know there's a lot of academic work written about that. I can't stress enough that whole notion. But the other side of sponsorship is, and I guess if I was to ever be an academic, God forbid, I would want to spend a lot of time studying where energy comes from, what the sources of energy, sources of self-belief and confidence, because we know that's a great big issue for young women, and it's something that is almost like demonized, throughout their whole lives is going to be a problem. So actually, having sponsors also reminds you, they have more belief in you than potentially you might have at some of your low times. It's just incredibly important, and it just feels to me even more and more important to think about the mechanics of that. And then finally, legacy, which kind of links into business as a whole. Last week we launched for the Marketing Society a new manifesto. I also happen to be president of the Marketing Society, and we've said that the role of marketing, which in the old-fashioned terms might people thought were television adverts, it is about fundamentally creating sustainable growth for a company. And the reason I mention that is because inherent in that is creating a business that has a legacy for the future. So to give you an example from the world I work in of insurance, our chief actuary, well actually our CRO, chief risk officer, and chief accountant actually. Anyway, point is, he has a job that his father had before him. And he now lives with the decisions that his father made. Because when you're pricing an annuity, you're pricing it over 40 years, 50 years. And so the thinking for the Marketing Society, which I just think is the thought for business, which helps ethics, helps a lot of the issues around trust in the city, is, are we acting today as if our children are going to inherit those decisions, and with a legacy thinking that is going to create sustainable growth? And I can't think, women we know, and again the academic research on this shows that they raise governance issues, they manage these issues far more powerfully, and particularly as part of a diverse group on a diverse team on a board. So that was the four things I was going to say actually. So direct action, leadership, sponsorship, legacy. 2 things we need to do, 2 things that potentially need to happen, and have a really good summit. And thank you for having me.